Alright, everyone, welcome to episode 5 of Haruna. And today, I think it's long awaited. I'm finally getting to making a roller coaster. In a game called Planet Coaster, it took me 5 parts to make a coaster. So that pretty much shows you how I view this game. I like using it as like a art canvas rather than a coaster simulator, theme park simulator. But with that said, I still really enjoy making roller coasters, and I really appreciate that aspect of this game. So, yeah, I think right off the bat, we're going to start by cleaning up some of the older stuff I placed in the park. I have no use for it anymore, and doing some terraforming. So I did really enjoy the mountains that I did terraform at the beginning, but unfortunately, there was just not enough space to make an actual roller coaster and have it be realistic for like a park. Let's say, even though this is a very opulent and unrealistic park, it's still unrealistic for a coaster to be in a plot of like that of land that's just completely mountainous. So I had to make some flat sections and sort of change it up a bit. And so you see me make this little island and flatten out this area in the back area of the park. Honestly, I was inspired by this area called Naples. I know this is like an Italian kind of themed park, but the Naples I'm talking about is in Long Beach. So, if any of you have heard of the neighborhood Naples in Long Beach, California, in the U.S., there's like this little island, and there's a little channel or canal that goes around it. And then all around both sides, as well as in the middle of the island, there's this neighborhood, and they're very nice houses and stuff like that. And I was inspired by that particular area. So that's what that is. That's sort of an homage to that. And I'm not sure if I'm going to fill it up with buildings or leave it natural or what I'm going to put there. But something is going to be placed there, and it's going to look pretty. Right, so the actual coaster. I ended up going with a dive coaster. I wanted to make one of those humongous dive machines, but not too tall. I mean, this one I think ended up being, I think like 180 feet tall or so. So it's not too tall. It's not one of those mega hyper dive machines, but it's not one of the smaller ones either. I got inspired to make this one by the new announcement video for Six Flags Great America, their new dive coaster, the Wrath of Rakshasa? The Wrath of Rakshasa. Yeah, that's what they ended up calling it. Honestly, they should have just called it Wrath, right? Wrath is a cool name. It's simple, it's easy to say, and it gets the point across. It's like aggressive, it's mean, it's like a demon, and it's right next to a demon in the park, so it just makes sense. But Wrath of Rakshasa, I guess if you want to be unique. So yeah, anyway, I was inspired by that, as well as like these newer generations of B&M dive machines with the beyond vertical drop. So I made sure to include that. I think this one's like 98 degrees or something. So I really like the look of that and how the ride feels, but I think the shaping is a bit off, and that is due to the in-game holding piece. If any of you have ever built a dive coaster and Planet Coaster, you know what I'm talking about. The piece that you put at the top of the lift hill that holds the train for the variable of seconds. You can put the minimum wait time and the maximum wait time that it will dive, and basically that piece has a specific kind of shaping to it, and you cannot really change it. So you just have to have that piece in there and build off of that. So that's good and all if you're making a 90-degree dive machine, right? But if you are going to make a beyond vertical dive machine, which at the time of Planet Coaster being made, those didn't really exist, so it's understandable. But if your dive machine's going, beyond 90 degrees, beyond vertical drop, it's gonna be a little awkward looking. So that's unfortunately what I had to deal with in this. So I'm not too sold on the general or the final product of the layout and the even the type of coaster. Actually, I'm not entirely sold on this concept, but I think as of right now it looks all right. Another thing you'll notice as I'm building this coaster is I'm writing a lot trying to get like the clearance and making sure everything feels right. I did not use the 4 meter or the 2 meter or even the 1 meter track method, because I think it just adds a lot of jitteriness. So while you can get the perfect shaping when you're riding the coaster, it's very, you know what I'm talking about, right? The 4 meter jitter, the 2 meter jitter. The coaster will just be super shaky, and it's just impossible to get it to ride smooth. So I think for the riding experience, I think it was just better for me to just not do that method and use a combination of both. So I'd use like regular longer track pieces for parts that were generally shaped fine, and then use the smaller track piece method for specific inversions like the 0G roll or the Immelmans, dive loops, etc., and trying to get the banking offset correct. So that's what I did for the track building process. And then yeah, so I was just really inspired by the newer dive machines, the ones with lots of inversions and lots of free-flowing elements, so less standard, dive loop or Immelman overbank turn dive loop, MCBR, another Immelman, and then a helix or 0G roll. No, the 0G rolls are actually pretty modern actually, so I'd say just dive loop, Immelman, dive loop, helix, splash down, and then brake run. So I try to shy away from that and try to go to a more modern dive machine, because I think these layouts are more fulfilling. As far as dive machines that I've been on, I think the only one I've ever been on is Valraven at Cedar Point, and I think at the time that was considered a modern dive machine because it introduced like a 0G roll, so it had that extra, the third inversion in there, I believe, that kind of set it apart from the rest. So yeah, my overall thought on those dive machines, they are very, I'd say they're very one-trick pony, honestly. Not my favorite rides, but the drop is very good, so that's what they're there for, and they do deliver on that part, so I'll give them that. So yeah. Next, I'm going to talk about the colorway. So it's a very interesting looking colorway. It's got this like forest green and then the dark gray supports that are kind of brownish. This colorway was inspired by the new launch coaster going to King's Dominion, the wing coaster. I think it's called like Rapterra or something. Let me look that up right now. Rapterra King's Dominion. Yeah, Rapterra. So it's the B&M wing rider, the launched one. I basically just took the color scheme, but I made the supports a little brown instead of just keeping it straight up gray. I saw this concept for the line, or for the queue, and it was just this forest green colored track, gray supports, and then the whole area underneath the coaster was just mulch, like dark brown mulch, and then just bright gray queue path lines going through it, and then like very clean landscaping and like minimal shrubs and trees in between that. It's just very clean, and that's something I wanted to recreate here. So I will do that in the next episode. Right now, this episode is just me building the track, finishing the layout, and then doing the custom supports. So another thing I will do is I keep a lot of the supports, or not a lot of them, but I'll keep the supports on the track that look pretty good or look pretty realistic, and then the ones that don't, I'll just make custom. So I'm not going to fully custom support the ride if I don't have to. Like, some supports are fine, just vertical columns that don't need to be customized or whatever. And then for some elements, I want to have unique looking supports that you wouldn't generally see. So specifically for the lift hill, for example, like, you're not going to have a million different supports. Most lift hills have like 2 or 3 big supports, and that's enough. So that's what I did here. I used the thicker support pieces instead of the thinner ones for the lift hill. I just think it looks better, honestly. The dive coaster track is pretty thick, so using these thick supports for the lift hill especially, I think I think it looks really good. It makes it stand out a lot more. So yeah, that's pretty much what I do for the rest of this video. So yeah, I'm not really sure if I want to keep the dive coaster, but I'm like 90% sure on it. I think it does fit, and I think the coaster that I wanted to put here, its main qualification was that it needed to be able to capitalize on the views, and the dive coaster does that well, right? It goes up pretty tall, and then it holds you there for a little bit, so you can soak up the views and also build anxiety, build tension, and kind of just become an overall better ride because of it. So that was my thought process in going with the dive coaster. Besides their, I guess, upsurge of popularity in the most recent years, I feel, because there are rarely dive coasters being put in, and now they're almost everywhere. You know, you take a break from following the coaster scene for a couple years, and you come back to it, and it's just everyone has a dive coaster, everyone has a RMC single rail. And it's like, what happened, dude? All the nice Intamins are going overseas because Six Flags doesn't want to work with Intamin, or Cedar Point doesn't, or Cedar Fair, doesn't want to work with Intamin. I mean, they're all one company now. Isn't that crazy? A couple years ago, that was unfathomable, and now they're the same company. You know, times change. It's really crazy. Yeah, I never thought I'd see that in my lifetime. Six Flags and Cedar Fair being the same company, or the merger actually coming true. So yeah, there's no good Intamins being put in the US. It's crazy. Yeah, I thought when I took a break from the coaster scene and came back, you know, I'd come back to you know, the best RMCs being built in the US, and RMC really taking off, and I think they kind of slowed down, if I'm correct anyway, because I know what's their recent coaster. They had Wildcats Revenge at Hershey, I think. Was it Hershey Park? One of those parks in the East Coast had Wildcats Revenge, and that was a pretty good coaster. I think it's generally received as one of the better RMCs. And then Iron Gwazi, right? Iron Gwazi, Steel Gwazi, I don't know what it's called, but I think it's called Iron Gwazi, and that's another one in the US that's pretty well received and kind of considered one of the better RMCs out there. So I definitely want to go out there and ride that eventually. Yeah, at Busch Gardens, Iron Gwazi. So yeah, and then, you know, catching back up in the scene, you see what park is it? Energy Landia in Poland. They've got some crazy rides out there. That's a newer park. I remember they were just up and coming, and then now they have world-class attractions. Like I'd consider going just for that park alone, you know. With Hyperion, is that even the right park? Yeah, Hyperion, Zadra. Yeah, these EU Intamins are getting insane, so I gotta get out there and ride them. Yes, as far as me, let's see. My home park is Six Flags Great America, so that's why the news or the announcement of the new dive coaster really got me inspired, because I was like, man, I'm probably gonna ride this pretty soon, or I guess not soon, but within the next few years of it being built. So that's nice. Let's see, where have I been? I've been to Cedar Point a couple times. I did get to ride Top Thrill Dragster, the original one, before it got shut down and became Top Thrill 2. So I got to experience that, which I'm pretty lucky, honestly, now. All things considered, the ride hasn't been open for a very long time, and then it opened for like a week, and then it's been closed ever since, even though it's supposed to be new for this season, I believe. So yeah, Zamperla, they got to get their stuff together. Yeah, so Moving on with this park, I'm not too sure exactly what types of coasters I want to have in this park. I know I don't want to have too many because I just want the classic park feel. Like I don't want this park to be the theme park area, of the park to be too opulent looking. Like I know the resort area and the entrance is super grand and it's just like borderline outrageous, right? But I don't want the theme park area to lose its charm. I still want it to be charming in smaller scale, but I want it to be smaller scale whilst also having an extremely large budget, right? So it's gonna have really high quality, huge rides, but it's still gonna feel small and like an actual kind of theme park, if that makes sense. Kind of like a Dollywood-esque. So yeah, that was my inspiration anyway, or that's kind of what I have in mind moving forward with this park. So yeah, so I'm just finishing up the supports, doing the dive loop or Immelman supports. I'm finishing up with the 0G roll here and the final helix turnarounds. And yeah, so overall I think this coaster turned out pretty okay. It's not the smoothest, it's not so it's not fully ironed out, so I'll eventually finish those. But yeah, aside from that, I mean, that's pretty much all for me. This video is wrapping up very soon, so I did include a POV of this at the end, so stay tuned for that. Yeah, so aside from that, be on the lookout for next episode where I'm gonna detail the coaster, including finishing the paths, or the queue area rather, and the station, and doing the scenery around it and making it just look like a complete area. So that'll be next. And thank you guys so much for watching. Please like the video if you enjoyed it. And other than that, that's all for me. So see you in the next one, and take care. More and more wicked punches.